Now, today's top stories and Power of 5 weather from News 5. Sponsored by Akron Children's Hospital.
Good Sunday morning, Northeast Ohio, and welcome to Cleveland's Public Hall, one of many sites around Greater Cleveland celebrating the NBA All-Star Game. If you're in town for the All-Star Game, we say welcome. You know, one of the selling points for Cleveland and landing events like this lies just about a half mile to our north, the freshwater envy of the world, Lake Erie. Of course, there's a better selling point in summer when it looks like this. Its economic impact on the state is estimated at $15 billion a year. Protecting it has at times been an uphill battle. That changed Thursday.
For decades, there was a lot of talk, a lot of plans, but very little progress. It was slow. That changes today. Today, we're announcing an investment of $1 billion. $1 billion.
And with that, President Joe Biden looked to change at a quicker pace the fortunes of cities like Lorain, Cleveland, and Toledo, home to rivers the EPA classifies as areas of concern, 3 of 25 in the United States. Cleanup for most started in 1987. With this money, 16 of them can be done by the end of the decade.
Dredging polluted sediment, restoring wetlands and habitats, making the water safer for swimming, fishing, drinking, providing habitats for wildlife and wildfowl.
The money goes into the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, founded in 2010 to protect and restore the largest system of fresh surface water in the world. Just 3 years ago, the Trump administration, though, cut its funding by 90%, restored after a bipartisan push by Great Lakes lawmakers, including Ohio Senator Rob Portman, who is also a force behind today's funding.
You know, it's something that I fought for in the infrastructure bill. I was the lead Republican negotiator, and these GLRI projects I have seen all over the northern coast of Ohio, and they work. An
example of that can be found in Ashtabula, where a year ago the Ashtabula River was the state's 4th area of concern. It was removed in August after a 33-year, $67.5 million cleanup that removed 14,000 pounds of cancer-causing PCPs and enough hazardous sediment to fill 350 football fields a foot thick. The folks in Lorain hope to see what studies have shown, and that is every dollar put into cleanup like this generates $3 to $4 in new economic activity.
This is unbelievable. I mean, there's been money put into the Black River in the last 10 years, and to have more money put in to remediate the Black River even further is even better.
That announcement coming on Thursday. Also happening Thursday, or not happening Thursday, the Ohio Redistricting Commission failed to meet the court-imposed deadline to come up with new state legislative maps. That, of course, throwing the May 3rd primary up in the air. Tuesday, I asked Secretary of State Frank LaRose what was the absolute cutoff date where he felt he could pull off a May 3rd primary before saying he's got a punt.
I'm going to be candid, John, that date has already passed. What I've been describing this as is with each passing day, it becomes more likely that something will go wrong.
Now in Ohio, only the legislature can move an election date, so that ball now on their court. In political news, the Republican race for the U.S. Senate taking a twist this week as outgoing U.S. Senator Rob Portman decided to make an endorsement endorsing Jane Timken. Portman, who was anointed by his predecessor, George Voinovich, in 2009, told me in the past he didn't plan to endorse. Timken, who had trailed in the polls, sees it as a big win.
I think it elevates my campaign, no doubt. I think that it also sends a signal to many people who, in a crowded field, were, quite frankly, sitting on the sidelines.
The Republican primary also includes Josh Mandel, J.D. Vance, Mike Gibbons, and Matt Dolan. In addition to being NBA All-Star Weekend, this is also President's Day weekend, usually marked around the country by mattress and pillow sales. But here in Northeast Ohio, we take it more seriously because of our role in that history. So in keeping with tradition, we've decided to go into the video vault, pull this one out from a couple of years ago, and refresh our Ohio presidential history. William Henry Harrison, who moved to Ohio from Virginia, was the Buckeye State's first claim to the presidency in 1841. This is an actual copy of his inaugural address. It was 8,445 words long, and that was after it was edited. Never would have made it on Twitter. It was the longest inaugural address in presidential history, and as a result, his presidency was the shortest in history. You see, it was delivered in a cold March rain. He got sick. A month of the day later, he died. He was the first U.S. president to die in office. Spoiler alert, over the next 82 years, Ohio would lay claim to 8 U.S. presidents. Half of them would die in office. Ulysses S. Grant was not one of them. He took the oath of office in 1869 as the 18th president. Presidents 19 and 20, also Ohioans. Rutherford B. Hayes lost the popular vote but won the electoral vote. Sounds familiar. He was followed by James Garfield, who we know by his Lakeview Cemetery memorial, also died in office, his demise coming at the hands of an assassin in 1881. Next up, Benjamin Harrison, grandson of William Henry. Harrison kept his inaugural address shorter than his grandfather's, and as a result lived out his entire term as the 23rd president. William McKinley was the next Ohioan to hold the office. He survived the re-election challenge, only to be gunned down months later in Buffalo at the start of his second term as the 25th president. He's buried in Canton. Snowed 10 inches the day Ohioan William Taft was sworn in. Taft later becoming Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, so he's the only man to ever take and administer the presidential oath, which he did with Calvin Coolidge. And hard-living Warren Harding was the last Ohioan to call 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue home, but just like Harrison, Garfield, and McKinley before him, it would be his final home, dying of a heart attack in his third year in office. Interesting to note, Harding died in 1923, a year after this place opened, and in tribute to him, the new president, Calvin Coolidge, pushed for Cleveland to land the Republican National Convention the next year, which we did, and Coolidge would accept the nomination right here in this room. With Democracy 2022, I'm John Kasich. Enjoy your Sunday.
Sponsored by Akron Children's Hospital.